The rapid spread and impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in the US and worldwide prompts us to place pandemics in a historical context. Join us in this Liber-Tea episode as we embark on a historical journey to uncover some of the most notable outbreaks of infectious diseases in the US. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC), an epidemic is a rapid increase of cases of an infectious disease within a geographical area or a community in a specific period. The U.S. has been unfortunate enough to experience a couple of devastating epidemics. The following is a brief history of some of the most notorious pandemics in U.S. history. Smallpox arrived on the shores of North America in the 1600s with European explorers. Smallpox symptoms included rashes, severe back pain, chills, and high fever. The pandemic spread from the east, ravaging Native American communities to the west. In 1721, over 6,000 cases were reported in Boston, out of a population of around 11,000, claiming over 900 lives. In 1770, through the works of Edward Jenner, an English surgeon, a smallpox vaccine was discovered. Dr. Jenner discovered that milkmaids infected with cowpox never contracted smallpox during his studies. The discovery of the vaccine was a big relief to the world, as smallpox had devastated humanity since the agricultural revolution. During the early 1970s, the U.S. government engaged in nationwide vaccination activities that helped us to kick smallpox out of the U.S. During one fateful summer in the 17th century, refugees from the Caribbean who fled a yellow fever outbreak unintentionally brought it to the U.S. For over 2 centuries after it arrived in the U.S., the virus caused panic and death, resulting in the death of thousands of Americans until 1953, when a vaccine was discovered. According to medical reports, the yellow fever virus causes bloody vomiting and yellowing of the skin. In 1973, in Philadelphia, a yellow fever outbreak claimed 10% of the city's population. In addition to losing life, it triggered a massive refugee crisis. Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which also spread the Zika and Denuga viruses, transmit the virus. Scientific research indicates that eliminating mosquitoes helps in the fight against yellow fever. Also, yellow fever has no cure. A patient who does not recover from it becomes immune to the virus for the rest of their life. Doctors describe cholera as an infection of the intestines, which, if left untreated, causes a painful death to the patient. Cholera has devastated the U.S. in 3 horrific waves. Between 1832 and 1866, the U.S. suffered 3 devastating waves of the cholera pandemic, with New York City being the first ravaged. Scientific research indicated that the pandemic claimed 5 to 10% of the population in major cities across the nation. During the 1900s, cholera outbreaks in the U.S. stopped. Scientists and historians attribute the stop to climate change or quarantine measures. However, according to the CDC, cholera claims the lives of over 950,000 people worldwide annually. Treatments for cholera include rehydration, zinc supplementation, and antibiotics. Like the cholera pandemic, the scarlet fever pandemic devastated the U.S. in waves from 1858. The fever mostly affects children between the ages of 5 to 15 years. However, it occurs rarely in children under 3 years. Adults who handle scarlet fever patients risk contracting the fever. According to medical research, fever is caused by bacterial infection generated after strep throat. Common symptoms include swollen tonsils, chills, flushed face, vomiting and nausea, abdominal pain, and a sore throat with yellow or white patches. While there is no vaccine for scarlet fever, doctors try to reduce its symptoms by administering antibiotics. One of the biggest typhoid pandemics to hit the U.S. occurred in New York between 1906 and 1907. According to historical records, Mary Mallon, commonly known as Typhoid Mary, spread the disease to hundreds of New Yorkers as a cook in a hospital unit and an estate. According to records provided by the CDC, in 1906, typhoid claimed 13,160 lives, and in 1907, it claimed 12,670 lives. According to research, Mary Mallon was a healthy carrier of typhoid fever, which caused red spots on the abdomen and chest of its victims. Unfortunately, Mary Mallon was incarcerated and branded a public menace after typhoid outbreaks in New York were connected to her presence in various kitchens. In an interview with a reporter, Mary lamented that she had never been infected with typhoid in her life, and as such, she did not deserve to be banished like a leper. In 1981, American doctors began to report an increase in mysterious types of cancer and pneumonia among gay men. These reports were made in California and New York. Later, the same conditions were noted among intravenous drug users and blood transfusion patients. In 1982, the CDC attached a name to the mysterious disease, Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome, AIDS. In the beginning, doctors could not treat the disease's symptoms, which included painful sores, rapid weight loss, and susceptibility to pneumonia. At its peak, the AIDS pandemic claimed over 50,000 American lives yearly. This continued to the late 1990s when powerful antiretroviral treatments and safe sex campaigns helped to reduce its effects. This list cannot be complete without at least mentioning the COVID-19 pandemic that has devastated the world for the last 3 years. Within the 2 years, COVID-19 has claimed over 1.3 million lives across the U.S. Apart from its human cost, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused huge disruptions in the country's social, political, and economic landscape. The COVID-19 pandemic has surpassed the 1918 flu, which claimed over 675,000 lives in the U.S. In October 1918, the flu claimed over 200,000 lives across the nation. Since there was no vaccine for the flu, it ran a deadly course around the globe. According to the CDC, the 1918 flu claimed over 50 million lives worldwide. It took more lives than the Great War did. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you have enjoyed and learned something new. Like, share, and subscribe to Liber-Tea for more.